Gnosticism as a form of perception. What do we mean when we say Gnosticism is a form of perception? To truly understand the Gnostic vision, it is important to grasp what Gnosticism is, and not to be bogged down in various historical manifestations of the Gnostic way of looking at things. Gnosis literally means wisdom, but does not mean book learning, even tradition. It is a direct experience of the divine, the flash of wisdom that is brought when we meet God face to face. Certainly Gnosticism has certain key motives, certain perennial ideals which we will examine in the course of this book. However, we must appreciate that there are Gnostic trends in most religious traditions, whether we are talking about Odin on the world tree, his flash of wisdom as he grasped the runas, or whether we are talking on the mystic achieving wisdom after days of penance and fasting. Both are essentially Gnostic. In some ways, the best way to appreciate Gnosticism is to use the metaphor of algebra. Algebra is a branch of mathematics. Sophia is letters. Uche represent numbers and quantities. Algebraic is ultimately from Arabic algebra, reunion of broken parts. Pocket Oxford Dictionary. It may be thought that algebra has little similarity to spirituality. However, if we consider it more complexly, they have much in common. Algebra uses letters to represent actions and numbers, and is a system of representation, and in a sense, symbolism. This is also the case with spirituality. Spirituality uses symbols to stand for realities. It uses images to represent things that cannot be easily imagined or explained. The problem is that algebra is an academic form of mathematics and has little effect on everyday life. Why spirituality controls and influences us more than we would care to admit. Only be removing religion
deception.
While all of these representational systems are different, their essential message is the same. In algebraic terms, while the letters vary, the numbers they represent are identical. This should be kept in mind while studying this handbook. It is one, and one only interpretation of the essential Gnostic wisdom. The aim of using algebra according to the Arabs was to have a better understanding of the real nature of the equation, to find the essential form through the many shards or forms. This too is the vision of the Gnosis. The Arabic meaning of algebra is pregnant with meaning, the reunion of broken parts. The source of our tradition, the Gnostic tradition, is one that has spanned millenniums. It represents the height of the religious traditions of humanity. Its primary points of focus are found within Vedic philosophy, Zoroastrianism, Greek mystery traditions, cultural religions, pagan and Hagan, and Gnosticism. Gnostic traditions were partially wrapped in the Christian tradition, as many martyr exponents seem to profess. It is a pan-Gnostic tradition, which spans greeny traditions and cultural milieus. The primary assumption of the Gnostic tradition is that at some point in the dim reaches of time, there was a primal universal religion. This religion diversified as man spread across the earth, and different cultures and nationalities development accordingly. Remnants of this perennial philosophy are found within the various traditions, belief systems, and faiths. These faiths, rather than being the primary sources of wisdom within themselves, are actually remnants of one earlier and more pristine school of knowledge. As time progressed, the higher kingdoms saw the loss of gnosis and therefore chose to restore the structure of the mysteries. When Jesus came of age with an essence, he purified the structure of the mystery traditions and reinstated the original Gnostic faith. Hence, the Gnosticism of Jesus is not superior to other Gnostic traditions, but is a refined interpretation of an age-long tradition. The Gnosticism of Jesus brought together Egyptian, Greek, and mystery cult traditions.
Such as those of an opposite
Into one coherent system. The iconography of Judaism played a small part, but was insignificant in comparison to, for example, the Greek mystery cult tradition. To understand this nexus of the gnosis, we really need to jettison the old model which sees Gnosticism as a Jewish or Christian heresy, as has been documented in such texts as the Jesus mystery and Jesus Christ, Son of God and beloved. It is more likely that rabbinic centuries of ancient doctrines. Behind devices and strange ideals of all initiations, under the deal of all sacred writings. In the ruins of metaphorical Thebes, on the crumbling stones, holding apples and the ancient visage of the Assyrian or Egyptian Sphinx, and the monstrous or marvelous painted interpret to the faithful of India, the inspired pages of the Vedas. In the printed emblems of our old books on alchemy, in the ceremonies practiced at reception, all secret societies, there are found indications of a doctrine which is everywhere the same and everywhere carefully concealed. The key of all divine obscurities and the absolute queen of society in those ages when it was reserved exclusively for the education of priests and kings, transcendental.
Gnosticism and other ways of knowing. In these days of science, technology, and the rule of rationalism, it is hard to grasp the ancient view of wisdom. Knowledge was not simply to know about something, but to know something, to appreciate its place within the living cosmos. The scientific model, with its emphasis on experimentation and materialism, remove man from his place within a living universe and replaced it with a universe of dead and inert substances. Experimentation is used to buttress a belief in the scientific method. Yet, the scientific method was a system based on self-damnation. Experimentation is used to prove the results of a given thesis. The experiments created are those which fulfill the requirements of the thesis. Progress are redundant. A simple mathematical example can be used. If the hypothesis answer is 7, we can use experimentation to prove no. The answer, however, could be 4 plus 3, 6 plus 1, or 5 plus 2, depending on how you want the result. The data is selectively chosen. The scientific approach, hence, is self-referencing. It demands the acceptance of certain predefined ideals, such as evolution, progress, and the supremacy of the experimental method, and then molds the data, consciously or unconsciously, to fulfill the data. Critics of the scientific method are many, but for the observant, the results of the scientific method are most pronounced when he looks at the world itself. The results of unbridled science and rationalism are illustrated in our consumer society. Our unquenchable thirst for technology and progress at all costs, and the resulting polluted and dying continents. Materialism, rationalism, and fundamentalism go hand in hand. Once you reject the possibility of a wisdom gnosis that is greater than the collective psyche of man, then the mind becomes the point of reference. Ethics become irrelevant, as do spiritual vows and prince place. In their place appear the relativism of the modern society, whose primary focus is on progress. If you couple this with the disposing of religion by Darwinian science, then man is reduced to an animal, no more, no less, and his behavior and values come to reflect this unconscious revelation. Fundamentalism is in some sense the encroachment of rationalism into the religious field. Realism says and then esotericism. Couple tilt in favor of doctrines and beliefs that can be understood by a blinkered use of the rational mind. Why fundamentalism is ambivalent, stifling, it uses a restricted form of rationalism, throw these goadings in place. Accordingly, fundamentalism is most prevalent in religions of the book Protestantism, Islam, and so forth. While other forms of fundamentalism exist, the most pernicious forms are those which, in reaction to materialism and scientism, use rationalism to create a stalwart of dogma and doctrine, and yet in the process destroy the very foundation of the true religious vision, mysticism. To appreciate the esoteric and mystical view of truth, we need to travel back to ancient Greece and examine the allegory of the cave as used by the equator. This allegory, beyond all others, offers us a real insight into the problem of what truth is. Plato sees all of humanity as prisoners. Each of us has been kept chained in a subterranean cavern from birth, facing a dark wall. Only a very small amount of nearly enters the cavern, and this comes from a small opening high overhead. Because of our chains, we look in either direction, and hence can only discern a reflection to pass along the wall we are facing. These shadows are caused by the men and occurrences of the upper world beyond the overhead, our perceptions and hence of the shadows and reflections. Vana's major contemplation was on what would occur if one of us escaped from the cave. Plato's answer is found in his work, The Republic, where Socrates tells us that at first the escaped prisoner would be blinded by the strength of the light of the upper world and would retreat back to the shadows, but only for a while. He would need then to grow accustomed before he could see things in that upper world. At first it would be easiest to make out shadows, and then the images of men and things reflected in water, and later on the things themselves. After that it would be easier to watch the heavenly bodies in the sky softly light, looking at the light of the moon and stars rather than the sun and the sun's light in the daytime. Last of all, he would be able to look at the sun and contemplate its nature, not as it appears when reflected in water or medium, but as it is in itself in its own domain. And now he would begin to draw the conclusion that it is the sun that produces the seasons and the course of the year and controls everything in the visible world, and moreover is in a way the cause of all that he and his companions used to see. Republic. Torito.
Plato, then, is illustrating for us the state of man.
His insight is clear and precise. Man is chained by his attachment to his perceptions, which are based on materialism and rationalism. The only reality he sees is a reflection, and this reflection creates an illusionary world around him. The true source of what he perceives is found in the world ideals, and yet he cannot even contemplate this source, since his view of reality is conditioned by his belief in the primacy of the material world. The world of ideals is the real source of wisdom, but to appreciate this world, we must expand our understanding of reality from the limited perceptions of sense to a multifaceted universe of many dimensions and realities. We must move from the mountains of earth to the great chain of being. This chain of being we will discuss further in this work. In the meantime, we need to consider what it means in regards to how we understand truth or gnosis, the religious systems, ideologies and movements which have evolved within the history of man are reflections, distortions and adaptations of the truth which exists unsullied in the world of ideals, rather than truth having evolved and developed. As some would tell us, truth has dissipated. As time has moved away from the first point of creation accordingly, like a stone thrown in a pool, we see the ripples through time, but do not comprehend the first event. As we have moved farther and farther away from the golden age, the ripples have become more and more distorted until now. In the age of the buff, they have dissipated into the pool of illusions, religions, ideologies and movements are hence exoteric philosophical doctrines, treatises, modes of speech, etc., designed for or suits all to the generality of disciples, but communicated to outsiders, intelligible to pedagogic hands to disciples, and so the lemmings the outer circle not admitted to the esoteric teaching. Oxford English Dictionary, esotericism. The inner teachings are elusive and hard to find. They have been passed from mouth to ear through brotherhood, sects and orders. They do not evolve. While their appearance may change from age to age, they exist as memories and reflections, transmissions from the golden age through history. Where esotericism can take any form from Hindu to Buddhist, Christian to Islamic. It is at the core distinct from each. It is trans-temporal, and yet being in time takes the appearance of the country, tradition or epoch. It is clothed by at the same time we must appreciate the form it takes. Esotericism is not ecumenical. It is dangerous to assume that all esoteric traditions are the same. Islamic esotericism is distinct from Buddhist esotericism, and while both are part of the law, they should not be mixed and combined into some kind of occult eclectic soup. While at the core, esotericism is unified gnosis, inside, in history and in our experience. It takes many forms and has many appearances, and these must be appreciated for what they are. Similarities are noted, comparisons are useful, but we must not believe that similar systems are the same. Esotericism and God and language. When we consider the gnosis, an important issue regarding language arises. The issue is that many, perhaps most of the concepts, beliefs and mental structures we have are artificial. They have evolved as the society around us would like them to evolve, hence, to really understand. The gnosis, there is a great need for you to put aside your preconceptions. This will be difficult, as so many words have connotations which have been deliberately programmed to have us react in certain ways. We have developed says in understandings of philosophy, religion, democracy, politics, SN, all of which may or may not be true, but nevertheless, all of which probably originated from the system around us, rather than from a language profound tradition. It is always important to realize the extent to which language can be molded to suit different world views and used to create specific reactions and impressions, which love ways we imaginate the discussion in AS in Wonderland between Humpty Dumpty and Alice. When I use a word, Humpty Dumpty said, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less. The question is, Alice, whether you can make words mean so many different things. The question is, said Humpty, which is to be the master? That's all. Through the looking glass, Lewis Carroll. To appreciate the gnosis, you will need to put aside your beliefs and assumptions and reconsider most of what you have been taught. It is imperative that you understand the terms we use and the context they are used in many of the words and concepts we present. Though obviously from the English language, or more specially from the language of Kisubtanicism, have little or no connection to the concepts of the same name in the modern usage.
Now, stop for a moment and consider the fact that we have already used a number of these programmed buzzwords: occult, esoteric, exoteric, reincarnation, gnosis, mystery teachings. And each of these will trigger a certain association for you. For example, you would probably relate the term occult to something sinister and evil, and yet the word itself simply means hidden. Members of the medical profession, for example, use the term occult bleeding for bleeding which comes from an unknown source, hardly sinister or demonic. I would suggest again and again we must emphasize that to understand and appreciate the esoteric worldview, you need to put aside the associations, prejudices, and preconceptions you have and consider new meanings for the terms that are used. It is important for you to understand the language we use in the context of how we use it, and not in terms of prevailing religious terminology. We are not asking you to just accept everything we say or blindly agree with our redefinition of old terms. What we are asking you to is temporarily suspend disbelief, enter into your studies with us, and only make a decision after you have seen the whole picture. So let's consider some of the terms we have used and will use. The term gnosis comes from the Greek word meaning to know, but it means the process through which the seeker of spiritual wisdom experiences the divine and is transformed. The teachings which make this transformation possible are considered mystery teachings because they embody the most ancient wisdom, the essential essence behind the world's religious and ideological systems. In this sense, they are esoteric, eso meaning inner. They are the inner teachings that are behind or beyond the secular. They are core religious wisdom available to the few. They are occult in that they are secret, hidden, or unknown. They are religious in the sense that religion means to bind back, to return to the source or origin. These teachings are those with late
great chain of being. A reference point for modern man is the material world. He judges life by his perceptions and acts accordingly. His life is hence governed by physical desires and materials requirements. This way of life, whether it be Western consumerism or Marxist materialism, was created by the development of the Western scientific worldview, whereby man was removed from his place at the center of the universe and reduced to his new status as an evolved monkey, beginning in 19th century. Some would argue earlier prevailing ideologies began to jettison God, spirituality, handing it in a worldview and replaced superstition with a scientific model based on matter, evolution and technology, coupled with a belief in progress. This new scientific model was and is a direct contradiction of the earlier traditional model, which was based on the great chain of being. This great chain is the general view of the universe, which is not locked in a simple nuts and bolts view, but which encompasses the great span of existence from the very heights of spirit to the depths of the infernal realms. The great chain of being, while expressed in many cultures, is not quantum, at least most of educated found the kingdom platonic, post-childish and cosmology, small, odd, limited, but we allusions in the visions of Zonde, the plan and structure of the world, which through the Middle Ages and down to the late 18th century, most educated men would accept without testing the conception of the universe, the great chain of being, composed of an immense or infinite number of links ranging in hierarchical order from the meagerest kinds of existence through every possible grade up to the ends perfectissimum. Great chain of being. Arthur Lovejoy, modern man's vision of reality can be seen like those locked into Plato's cave. He perceives only shadows and presumes these to be real. This is far more dangerous than we ever meant for. If we limit our reality to our sense alone, then we remove all possibility of ethical or spiritual insight by reduce existence to material banality, while psychology may wish to somewhat expand our horizons by positing spiritual equivalents within the mind. It is still reductionist, and everything is referenced back to the senses and the material world.
Flatland. 2. They're the inhabitants of space in general, and HC in particular. This work is dedicated by a humble native of Flatland, in the hope that, even as he was initiated into the mysteries of tidy dimensions, having been previously conversant with only two, so the citizens of that celestial region may aspire yet higher and higher to into the secrets of 4, 5, or even 6 dimensions, thereby contributing to the enlargement of imagination and the possible development of that most and excellent gift of modesty among the superior races of solid humanity. Preface to Flatland. If we for a moment accept the reality of the great chain of being, then we can theorize that the universe is multi-dimensional and has many levels of existence. If we consider this for a moment and ponder how real our dimension seems to us, then perhaps other levels would be perceived as concrete and real as our own from within their own vantage point. This very concept was the basis of a fascinating story written by Edwin Abbott in 1884 called Flatland, originally published under the pseudonym of Mr. E. Square. It was found to be the work of an English Crantoner, a Shakespearean scholar whose fascination with mathematics led him to publish this tale. The importance of Flatland is that it helps us conceptualize the possibility of altered dimensions from the perspective of geometry. Now, I am not Edwin Abbott, and hence I cannot paraphrase his story in a way he would appreciate, but I can give you the gist of the tale.
I would also suggest you go buy a copy. It has been reprinted by Dover Book. I am not more in the boring economical edition.
Imagine a world of only 2 dimensions, a world of beings who only know. Across and side to side and have no knowledge whatsoever of up and down, these entities live in a diverged realm of squares, triangles, circles, as well as many other nationalities. They live in an O much like our own, except for one thing, they are flat. Imagine one day Mr. Square enters his flat home, walks across to his flat lounge and sets go to begin it in the lowling flat med. Suddenly a voice comes to him from another edition. The voice is actually coming from Mr. Jones, a traveler from the dimension of up. But Mr. Square does not learn this. Mr. Square cannot seek him because up does not exist for Mr. Square. All he experiences is a loud bellowing, but disembodied voice, Mr. Square, by now obviously terrified, demands that this being makes himself known to him. Mr. Jones, with the aim to oblige and interdimensional communication, lowers himself towards the ground in Mr. Square's home. Mr. Square cannot see the totality of Mr. Jones. All he sees is the points and lines of Mr. Jones' body where they connected 2-dimensional lines of his lounge room. Mr. Square comes quickly to the conclusion that he is communicating with a weird selection of lines and points. From this conclusion, he decides he's either quite mad or that he's a little too much to drink from his flat bottle of gin. Mr. Jones is not happy. He does not like to be thought of as a weird and disjointed collection of lines and points. He grasps Mr. Square on his 2-dimensional shirt and lifts him into the air. Mr. Square is turns static and very confused. If we're a tree, it has been right to be on the dungeon of up and hence. I not understand his sentence as he begins to hover above the ground. His sea hands maneuver, but they cannot see him. However, as he returns to his 2-dimensional world, at the moment of contact he reappears, seemingly out of below where he tries to explain. But how can they understand dimensions beyond their 2-dimensional perception? This tale illustrates the hypothesis of our dimensions. If we attempt to translate a cube into 2 dimensions, we'll know that what we arrive at is nothing but a reflection or an approximation. We know that in a cube all lines are of the same length, yet in a 2-dimensional representation, the length of the lines seem to vary according to Moenty's strength. If we take a cube and apply it into a further dimension, we arrive in Patis Norum as a tesseract. This cannot be illustrated as exists in 4 dimensions. All we can see is reflection as a graph inside the cube. Theoretically, however,
Giving some consideration to this tale, we may begin to hypothesize about various planes, dimensions, worlds, or orders of existence. If we project our cube into higher dimensions, we can create an infinite progression until we reach some final point of conclusion. In the ancient traditions, this has been known for a long time, and while the number of levels or planes may vary, depending on the esoteric tradition, the model, the great chain of being remains remarkably the same. In the words of Arthur Lovejoy, author of The Great Chain of Being, the great chain of being, has been the dominant official philosophy of the larger part of civilized mankind through most of its history. The traditional model of the universe, that sign is the sign of the cross, which very clearly represents the manner of the achievement of this realization by the perfect communion of all the states of the being Hamani Zain superbly ranked. The integral expansion in the double sense of amplitude and exaltation. In fact, this double expansion of the being may be regarded as taking place horizontally on the one hand, that is, at a certain given level or degree of existence, and vertically on the other, that is, in the hierarchical superimposition of all the degrees. Thus, the horizontal direction represents amplitude or integral extension of the individuality taken as basis for realization, an extension which consists in the indefinite development of a given group of possibilities subject to certain special conditions of manifestation. And it should be clearly understood that in the case of the human being, this extension is in no very confined to the corporeal part of the individuality, but includes all its modalities, of which the corporeal state is properly only one. The vertical direction represents the hierarchy likewise, and a fortiori indefinite of the multiple states, each of which, when solid considered in its integrality, is one of those clues of personalities corresponding to one of the worlds or degrees, which are included in the total synthesis of universal man. In this cruciform representation, the horizontal expansion, therefore, corresponds to the indefinitude of possible modalities of one and the same state of the being. Regarded integrally, and the vertical super imposition to the indefinite series of states of the total being, symbolism of the cross, Reni Gennen. If we wish to conceptualize the great chain of being, there's a simple place to start. Let's begin by viewing material life as a horizontal line. On this line we have everyday existence. We could even use two lines to avert the opposite of time and space. In any event, these occurrences are horizontal. They exist within some time, space, and hence exist on the material line. At the same time, we can suggest this line is intersected by another, a vertical line, the line of spirit, whereas the horizontal moves from life to death, beginning to end, and repeats again and again. The vertical moves from alpha to omega, from the heights to the depths. This image, the cross, is the primal image of the great chain of being. In traditional cosmology, it is pregnant with meaning, and within it,
are the central concepts of Gnosticism. If we consider the cross and the intersection between the spiritual and the material, we can also contemplate the variations in ideals between these two extremes. The material actus next to physically, exilium qualitative the spiritual underside spiritual, ethereal and qualitative. The vertical line represents epics, content, and meaning. The horizontal represents zest, nativity, and relativity. The interface between these two lines is within the sacred center. It is from the center that we can begin to unfold some of the major concepts of the traditional view of the world. The sacred center is the point where man touches the divine and can come under the influence of the spiritual world while existing within the physical. It is only at this nexus that enlightenment is possible. If we consider the image of the cross, we can delineate certain characteristics. It is a sacred scepter. The vertical line becomes the axis mundi. A horizontal line becomes the earth, above which are the supernal worlds, below which are the infernal mists. When a living constant is central to the sacred law. While it may take many forms in the traditions that are found on planet world, it is sometimes heuristics are the same. When applied to traditional levels of the universe, the horizontal path and paths the take will, not wide, physical reality. When it answers, Murphy becomes the pillar that spans the world. But sometimes evidence as a vertical series of flails, of worlds, or dimensions. The axis mundi and the sacred tree. The axis mundi is the pillar, and at its center is the nexus of earth. The earth turns on the center, and it's horizontal. Reality is formed. The turning marks the cycle of time. If you are calm, clear-headed, and rationally decisive, people say you are well, centered or focused. In that saying is our instinctive recognition that everything has its proper center, which is also its essence. The essence of an individual, one center and citadel is the mind, but it is not the ultimate center. The idea of a fixed center and a continually moving periphery has many illustrations. It is like a wheel turning on an axle, a rope swung round a vertical pole, a compass making a circle. A grander cosmological image is of a spherical universe, with the spherical earth at its center, both revolving upon the same unmoving pivot, the world pole. In all traditional systems of religion, this image has provided the dominant symbol. At the center of the world, John Michel, Thames and Hudson, 1994. Working from this model, we can go further and delineate the characteristic of the axis mundi, or cosmic tree. The cosmic tree can be imaged in two different manners, organic and emanation. The organic model is found in most pagan and Truvan traditions. It emphasizes the change, some nature of the worlds and planes. The emanation model is more formal, allowed to infer the ever-changing landscape. Spirit, it has more clearly delineated worlds, planes and inhabitants. Whichever we use, both have certain general motifs which are the basis for the great chain of being, characteristics in the traditional model. The first is the point of origin. This is only described in negative terms. The second is considered the upper world. It is sometimes imaged as the world of the plants. But in the Gnostic system, we prefer a more impersonal description. This world includes any number of original principles. It is the higher reaches of Plato's world of ideals. In the general Gnostic theosophic tradition, it has a triune principle. Within the triune principle is the power of polarity. And the Zonkani, as it gives rise to the sexual polarity of most pagan traditions and the balance between mind and intuition in others. The third is the other world. It is an intermediate reality and is comprised of any number of planes, worlds, or locales. These can be described in semi-analytic terms as planes or dimensions, or in more organic terms as worlds, halls, or localities. The fourth is the earth, or the physical world. The fifth is the underworld, the realm of the dead. In most organic models, this is seen inside or below the earth. In the emanation models, it is usually leaded to the moon and seen above or already there. And third, more penetrated characteristics. One more noticeable in organic models. In emanation models, they tend to be included with a gradient of states or worlds. These can be any number, but in the Gnostic theosophic approach tends to be 7. To fully appreciate these characteristics, we shall take some case studies of specific cultural maps which outline the traditional model of the universe. The Neoplatonic cosmos. One of the pivotal figures within the history of traditional cosmology is Plato. While before him both Pythagoras and Socrates are of great significance, it was Plato who outlined the major characteristic of the great chain of being ideals. For Plato, an ideal was more than just a notion or idea. Ideals existed eternally in the world of ideas and had eternal, abstract qualities. It is from this world of ideas the lower worlds emanate, resulting in the physical world of Jankanism and Neoplatonism and Gnosticism origin in the Triavan souls. It regards to the nature of matter, while all positive demiurge which created the material dimensions. The nature of this being, from demonic to malefic, bungling to a demigod, depends on the school and sect. Plutarch, for example, one positive the meditative world soul, and hence heralded a reconciliation between Platonic and Gnostic thought, When the Platonic model was combined with Pythagorean mathematics, the hierarchical structure resulted. This early model which spanned the universe from the all to matter was probably the map from which later Kabbalah and medieval occult schematics evolved. Plotinus, a classic Neoplatonist, outlined the map which was founded on the indescribable one. Who is the causeless cause? Plotinus also called it the good and the first god. Protos. Theos below N is a series of hypostases or emanations which make up the great chain of being. Below N is the nous or God's thought, in which exists the Platonic forms of archetypes. From nous emanates soul, psyche, and then psyche emanates the world, soul, and individual. Souls, the world soul has higher and lower natures, one of which is the archetype of nature. Physis, it is from physis that the material world emanates. The three primary emanations of N, nous, and psyche form the nexus of the genus system. In terms of our characterizes, this model includes the indescribable one. Podos, Theos.
Nous and psyche, Platonic archetypes. The world has emanated by psyche, while the underworld is hidden within nature, which has its own consciousness.
This dualism between the spiritual and physical, we will return to later. The two aspects of the world soul are one of the most important misunderstood aspects of Gnosticism. The Earthosophical and modern maps. The Earthosophical map is found in many New Age and spiritual books. Most of these have adapted and distorted the model and not really come to grips with the full depth of the vision held by Blavatsky and others such as Steiner, Alice Bailey, and Max Tyndale. This map was developed by Madame Blavatsky and from the Theosophical movement migrated into a range of cosmologies. It is found adapted in systems ranging from Max Heindel's Rosicrucian cosmoconception to the work of Rudolf Steiner and Alice Bailey. In Theosophy and related traditions, there is an original nothing or absence, a triumph principle of will, the word, and wisdom, and a series of 7 planes which bring together the other characteristics. The underworld is subsumed within astral plane, which is Eindel's desire plane. The 7 planes, according to the Rosicrucian cosmoconception. The line plane, plane of light and spirit, plane of divine spirit, plane of life spirit, plane of thought,
Desire plane, physical world. Desire plane, physical world. Desire plane, physical world. Physical world, physical world. Desire plane, physical world. Physical world.
correspondences between phenomena. It can also be counter-tradition and reductionist. The tendency is to use the 7 planes in a standard scientific chart and ignore the more organic view that was held of the planes in early Theosophy. In the next chapter, we will examine this in more detail and consider it in terms of the Gnostic tradition. The Gnostic tree of life. The Kabbalah is a system of some controversy. It has been correlated as the greatest mystical system of all, handed down by Moses and guarded by the Jewish people. The problem with this largely mythical tale is that the Kabbalah was not developed till at least the 6th century AD and incorporated its Greek and Gnostic religion. Old insulations and dated has been suggested by Barbara Deering and Gershom Scholem that the very image of the tree of life of the Kabbalah is from Greek rather than archaic. Jewish splits the verses, while the Kabbalah is a portion made even Old Testament, Jewish, Christian, and sometimes Gnostic layers. It is primarily a Greek Neoplatonic model. The tree starts with nothing, the great void or empty is behind all things. This is known as Ain at various vengeance, grows going and insulted the man and free principles. Kether, the divine will, Chokmala logos, Bina Sophia. We have deliberately chosen Gnostic names here to prepare you for the use of Gnostic model of the universe is presented in the next chapter. Chokma and Bina also form the polarity of male and female principles which give birth to the rest of the tree of life. Gebura Mars, Chesed Jupiter, Tifereth Sun, Horde Mercury, Netzach Venus, Yesod Moon, Malkuth Earth. These planes or world which can be related to planets and realities bring together the remaining characteristics with the astral plane at the moon and the earth at the base. There are many attributions related to the Kabbalah, and as a system of classification it is extremely useful. Again, we must avoid the tendency towards reductionism and see the centers more as a landscape in which townships meld into each other rather than in a classification scheme from a biology textbook. Yggdrasil, the world tree, 9 world I can count, 9 roots of the tree.
Yggdrasil is a prime example of the organic model of the great chain of being in the Elder. Edo Yggdrasil is identified as a sacred ash tree. It becomes obvious that this is no ordinary tree, but a tree which glyphs the worlds and which encompasses many stratas of reality. In the Grimnismal, Yggdrasil is described as having 3 great roots. One lies under hell, the realm of the dead. Under another dwell the giants, and under the third live human beings. A squirrel runs along its branches, an eagle nets in its crown, 4 deer browse on its branches, and a dragon gnaws at its roots. In the Volapsa, the sacred ash is described as very tall, always green and moist, the source of dew, and as having the well of destiny as its roots. The town ash trembles and the world tree howls.
is among the Aesir, the second among the frost giants, where Ginnungagap once was. The third extends over Niflheim, and under that root is Vergelmir, and Nidhogg gnaws the bottom of the root. Gylfaginning, younger Edda. Snorri Sturluson, John's Antony Falls, Wigdrasil is one of the warriors, strategies of the great chain of being. In some forms of northern worship, it was celebrated with a gigantic pillar, one of which, Irminsul, was renowned for its size, but was destroyed by Charlemagne in his attempted conversion of the Saxons in the 8th century. From the world tree extends 9 worlds or realms, 5 of which are on the central axis and 4 in the directions. Pathways link all the worlds with the central axis. The system of 9 rather than 7 duplicates the principles of fire and ice as distinct worlds. This is not found in later models of the universe, such as the Anglo-Saxon. The world in the center is called Midgard. The word guard means dwelling. It is obviously related to the word garden. Midgard is Middle Earth, the garden in which X live our lives. It includes the physical world as it is perceived by our senses. Encircling Midgard is the world serpent. Niflheim is the realm of ice and darkness, while Muspelheim is the world of fire and heat, interactive between fire and ice. Niflheim and Muspelheim is a major Rayman within. Activity of the world tree. The Sputteranch to the players and Ginnungar and empty Aris, where the fire with miracles high mets of the easy weber to meet the bottom in Chendes, Dykwen and Vagina, Emingus, Bears, or in his fun. The born from giants carve up the body of Ymir to create Midgard. Ymir's bones become the mountains, his teeth the rocks, his blood the rivers, his skull the vault of the sky, his hair the forests and grasses like the Titans. Ymir's death creates mankind. Hence Midgard is a checkerboard on which fire and ice battle against each other until the game is complete. But the innovation of fire and ice that in the great gap, the planes or worlds are formed. This model, when examined critically, has a lot in common with the Kabbalah and the Esophical plane models. Together they give us a good overview of the great chain of being. The planes or world below the triune forces of the void. Fire and ice are. Vanaheim is the world of the Vanir. It is the realm of Fatani, well of fecundity, fields of luscious crops, fruits, mad light and pastoral beauty. Jotunheim is the home of the giants. There are 3 types of giants: Thursa, Rises, and Etins, all children of beauty.
Svartalfheim is the realm of the dark elves which exist in the subterranean world under Midgard. They are also known as dwarves. In the lower realms of the underworld lies Hell, the realm of the dead. The worlds are traditionally listed as the Gap+9 worlds. These correlated well with the model we will discuss in the next chapter, where there is a triplicity above
Void, fire, and ice,
and 7 worlds below. Each of these models offers us a glimpse of traditional cosmology in action. Concepts such as the Axis Mundi, Sacred Center,
Midgard,
and the various worlds are delineated. Each of the models we have presented,
albeit in brief form,
offer different views of the great chain of being. Most have much in common. In our next chapter, we will offer a Gnostic model of the universe, using these examples to expand and refine what the great chain of being means to the seeker of Gnosis. In the previous chapter, we discussed the basic framework of the great chain of being, its 5 characteristics, and gave some examples of this model in esoteric systems. In this chapter, we want to put flesh on the bones and outline a specific model of the great chain of being, Meister Gnostic, the suffix sin. Traditions, who or what is God? One of the central issues with any religious tradition is who or what is God. In traditional faiths, as well as within esotericism and mysticism, in this clear definition of God, Buddhas may be expressed through many diverse and language forms. These definitions, while divergent in form, have one thing in common: they all define God without the using descriptors and more. It is beyond definition. To define God in any way is in some sense to limit he, she. And for the Saivit Hindu, for example, the supreme deity is defined as Shiva, with Brahma and Vishnu simply being modes or personas, while in other traditions, Brahman or Vishnu is supreme, with the other deities being modes of its expression. In each case, there is still a furthermore transcendent form, the Parabrahm, each being defined as beyond definition, with the traditions of divine activities being relative into the person forms or manifestations, or interpreted in allegoric fashion. In the Zoroastrian faith, titles such as Ahura Mazda are superlative definitions of a first cause, while in the later derivative faith, God was defined as Zorban, or the Lord of Time, since fate or time was believed to be the principle which is beyond all things. For the Gnostic, God simply is G. It is the one source beyond and behind all things. In both the Zoroastrian and Israelite faiths, God is usually simply called Lord of Six, designates the title of respect for a superior, while these definitions are all, in some sense, useful. Mystics and Gnostics usually go a step forward and define God by what it is not.
Achievement projections in many traditions is achieved by the use of a paradox
comparisons between so-called monotheistic and polytheistic traditions, as well as igniting such models as deism, deism is heaven. What's a name? The issue of the name of God is an undue one. For in some sense, to give something a name is to define it. For an idiot or sorceress to know the name of a spirit was to control it. In Gnostic tradition, we understand the frailty, the human spirit, and have decided to shed humanity onto deity. This constitutes anthropomorphism is a dangerous one. Too often, man, in his suffering, desires to bring the gods down to a more physical level. When this happens, the currency of divine imagery is debased, while certainly images, legends, myths, and godnames have their place. Their value is in what they represent. They matter in themselves. In regard to the me.
The same applies to the formula of IAV. While it has an esoteric meaning, it too has been twisted to reflect the barbaric and violent storm god that is falsely represented throughout the Old Testament as the creator. For Gnostics, there are literally two gods within the Old Testament, period. The original I Am, the transcendent one of the light, and the barbaric thought form which became the nationalistic warlord of later fundamentalist Judaism. For these reasons, Gnostics tend to avoid the Old Testament names of God altogether and use the more common terms of the mystery tradition. The pleroma. The first principle is the source of all light, the originator. However, this principle does not exist alone. Throughout time, she expands and contracts, filing the spiritual dimensions with luminous beings of all orders and forms in the Valentin hierarchy. For example, there are 8 major forms and 22 minor in the Gnostic Theosophic tradition. There are 3 principles and 7 lower planes or dimensions. The processes by which these realities are created are complex and vary from tradition to tradition. Each of these interpretations can be further expanded to include a whole universe of luminous realities, from the highest of forces or aeons to guions of Adversary. This complete spiritual kingdom is known as the pleroma or fullness, because it envelops a great light and light at the same time. The major spiritual forces within it are known as aeons. While in the Gnostic tradition, we tend to emphasize the 3 principles, the divine will, logos, and Sophia, and the 7 spirits or aeons.
There is a universe of created beings which exist in the pleroma and which fulfill the creative directive expressed by the Lord of Wisdom in one Gnostic tradition. Michael, and first estate predecessor of Jesus, who was the first created immortal, the divine will. The divine will is the first principle of action. It is Kether in the Kabbalah and Brahma in the Hindu traditions. It is the creative principle, not in the sense of matter, but in beginning the emanation process through which the whole great chain of being with its world, dimensions and multitudes of life are manifested, Logos and Sophia. The two principles which are manifested and work in unison with the divine will are the Logos and Sophia. The Logos is the divine mind, and the concept came directly from the Greek mystery traditions. Indeed, as early as 6th century BC, Heraclitus stated that the Logos was shared by all, while Orpheus stated, "Behold the Logos divine, threat world, the narrow path of life and gaze of him." Is from this tradition that the Gospel of St. John derives its model as expressed the early verse. In the beginning was the Logos, Lil is as prez, stick to the home as whole what painting Christian in this isolate. Sometimes the pre-existent state of the Son of God. There are many positions in the great chain of being for the Logos and Sophia. And as we study further complex myths and legends of their power will be discussed. However, in their most primal form, they work within the triangle of force in the upper world. What about Jesus? One of the major debates in Christianity has been about the nature of Jesus. However, when we examine the New Testament in an incredible manner, some artifacts and leges over again claim to be the Messiah and the Son of God, but not God himself. He prayed monitors formal form for Jesus, whom he was obedient. For the Gospel of John, identity of Jesus is the central theme. The aim of this gospel is to show the reader that Jesus is a Messiah, the Son of God, not God, the Son. Well, John himself clearly tells us that Jesus distinguished himself from the Father, who is the only one God. We also find St. Paul clearly describing Jesus as the firstborn of every creature and the firstborn of the dead. This is echoed in the book of Revelation, where we read that Jesus is the beginning of the creation of God. Over and over again, we find nothing of Jesus being God or even equal with God. Jesus, hence, was a messenger of the pleroma, which God existed in equal worlds. That which is not divine will, Sophia, the Logos. Divine will.
Jesus, Christ, and Logos. When we come to understand that Jesus was a created being, a new picture of divinity arises. In many Gnostic traditions, many sons of God are acknowledged. However, Jesus was believed to be the first created entity. Michael, Jesus existed in the first estate before coming into a physical body as Michael, that immortal who plays such an important role in mystical Christian traditions. When Michael is born into the Ascend community, he becomes Jesus at his baptism. After years of training, he became the Christ. His special Ascend training had involved processes that cleansed the human state by the power of Sophia and transformed his bodily vehicle into a form that was made pure enough for the communion with the Logos. Jesus, as an individual, discrete being that existed but communed with the Logos. Within him, Jesus was not and is not God or the Logos, so Christ, he became Christed, and hence, in that understanding is known as Jesus the Christ. The term Christ means anointed and refers to the state of sonship to the Lord of wisdom. Jesus at his baptism communed with the mind of God. His actions came to embody the Spirit of God, and he became a full Son of God. We speak of God, of the Son, His Word, and of the Holy Spirit, and we say that the Father, the Son, and the Spirit are united in power. For the Son is the intelligence, reason, and wisdom of the Father, and the Spirit is an effluence, as light from fire. In the same way, we recognize that there are the powers which surround matter and pervade it, Athenagoras. Generally speaking, the ancient Gnostics premurative viewed Christ as an eternal, celestial power, the Logos with which it is possible to have an intimate, personal relation, since a higher consciousness is made in its image. For this reason, Gnostics practiced the codex union with the divine and showed little influence in the historical Jesus. Vun has always been impossible to know in a concrete sense, or even accurately in a historical sense. Jesus Christ, Son, a story. David Fiedler, Quest Books, 1993. The state of Christhood is a state to which all of us must aim. It is the state by which we return to the playground of Logos and Sophia, our energy fields, imminently as a long world, and if parentically transform us into immortal beings. This teaching is the solar tradition, and the central to our understanding of it knows is that which is not. If I'm Sophia, the Logos, awakened by the mind, birth by the God, purified by the wisdom, birth by the God, devoured by divine will. The Christ state. What is Sophia? The general understanding of the Holy Spirit as found in the Christian tradition is a dissecting of the great feminine power. Sophia is the goddess or feminine principle, and as such exists from the earliest pagan traditions right through to the Greek mysteries. In Gnosticism, in Gnostic literature, she is described by many names: the All-Mothers, Mother of the Living, Shining, Mother and the Holy Spirit. Sophia is seen as the counterpart of
logos and cannot work. Then it is hence suggested in esoteric Gnostic literature that it was the combined power of Jesus and Mary Magdalene who transmitted the mysteries, not Jesus alone. The Sophia tradition has survived hidden under the veil of Christian piety. It is still found in the cult of the Virgin Mary and is most powerful in the Russian Orthodox traditions. It is a tradition of great age and some beauty that personifies the power of the Holy Spirit as distinctly female. For example, in Proverbs particularly, we have Sophia wandering the street, begging men to love her. While in the following quotes, we may even begin to think that Sophia or wisdom is separate, yet in reality, Sophia is a facet of the Lord of wisdom himself. Wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and spoilers hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called, and ye refused. I have stretched out my hand, and no man reproved. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. And when your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find ye. For that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth. When he established the clouds above. When he strengthened the fountains of the deep. When he gave to the sea his decree that the waters should not pass his commandments. When he appointed the foundations of the earth. Then I was by him as one brilliant with him. And I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him.
This great being, but quiet and feminine, who
importance of Sophia can be best understood when we understand the primal myth behind her nature. Throughout many cultures, there has been the legend of the goddess who is stolen from the world of life and is taken to the underworld. There she is kept captive, pinning for her lover who is still in the other world. She waits and pines until at last some salvation is achieved by her hero coming into the underworld to save her. However, this salvation is at a cost, and together they end in battle against the underworld instead of the completion of the tale. Though there are many modifications of this tale, it is the story of the spark of God within man. Man's true self is caught in the grace of earth and is lost in the consciousness of matter. The nature of the spirit's spark within man is that of being a seed, God in potential. In Hebrew it is called the Ruach, and interestingly one definition offered of the Ruach is Sophia. So, here we have an Israelite version of the classic tale. The Spirit of God in man is a spark, a seed of light. It is caught in matter and crying out for salvation. The Logos, embodied in Jesus, answers the call and through great suffering offers salvation. But it is not that simple, for while Sophia still lives in the world system, she was reflected to the upper by day and must return to the underworld by night, or so the legend goes. So man on the path of transfiguration, though being reborn through the powers of the pleroma, must live in the world but try not to be of it. Sophia hence offers us some fascinating insights into the nature of God. She is the daughter of a divine well, and yet is the part of the divine will itself. She is the spouse and lover of the Logos and the spirit within man. She is reflected in the light hidden in nature, ecclesia, the Gnostic scripture of man, and I strengths the presence of light in all things. In each of these things, Sophia is spirit mono tuo all. Sophia is the presence of God in nature. Even after all the pain man has inflicted on it, nature still exhibits the divine spark. Though its luster has been sorely diminished, Sophia is the bride of the Logos embodied in the ecclesia. In the scripture, Sophia is wisdom, and in man, she is the very essence which changes him from mortal to immortal. She is the Holy Spirit. Therefore, Sophia is twofold, that once divine and creaturely embodied before creation, and in creation, no world Sophia is actualized. The Dios eres following, all creation longing for liberation from the bondage of corruption, for the radiance of Somian light, for beauty and transfiguration. Sophia, the wisdom of God. Sergei Bulgakov, Lindisfarne Press, 1993. The concept of Sophia is alien to many Western Gnostics, and yet when we clearly study the Bible in the light of the Gnosis, we find she is an integral part of divinity. When we consider how often the concept of Sophia is linked to the concept of wisdom, we can achieve a deeper understanding of the power and beauty of the pleroma, the polarity of the God and the goddess, while the three principles, sometimes called the triangle or triangular principle, singular word and kinesin. In many traditions there is a strong emphasis placed on the polarity between the Logos and Sophia. While many Gnostics would tend to avoid overt anthropomorphism and see these more as principles, other traditions place a strong emphasis on the God-goddess nature of the polarity. These traditions range from those of paganism and heathenism to the Cyzagis of Valentinus. While there is nothing wrong with using myth and legend to put flesh on the bones of metaphysical principles, we should note confuse the image with the essence. Certainly there is a wide range of god and goddess, images which fit nicely on this polarity. They also move down through the planes and have other expressions if we use the Kabbalistic model for a moment. We can see how the pagan concept of the horned god and the triple goddess arose. The horned god manifests as the logos in Chokmah and then as the sun. These are his two modes. While the goddess manifests as the old crone of Saturn, the midwife, and the girl child. With meaning and certainly help us appreciate the power of these principles beyond sinful mental simulation. However, care must be taken for is to introduce the gods to images which fit ordinate conceptions, and by using a gender-based polarity, we can easily end up with both misogynist and homophobic models. This ability to show the origins of the symbols of many systems is a unique characteristic of Gnosticism, rather than there being conflicts between pagan and so-called Christian theism and non-theism and related contradictions. We find that all alternatives are reconciled within an all-encompassing system. This is the insight which Gnosticism gives. It shows the esoteric meaning behind religious symbol systems and in some sense bypasses them by divining their true meaning. This does not degrade the role of myth, legend, tales, and scriptures, but places them in the real position, that is, as the outer flesh or form of the mystery scriptures cannot stand alone within the gnosis at their heart. They become as stone, impersonal to personal, as part of the
The solar logos, Christ. The term Christ means anointed, and it is the force of the spiritual sun. It represents the completed individual in which Sophia and the logos have transformed consciousness and the mediator at the nexus of all systems. The solar logos, Christ or the sacred sin, transmits the transforming energies of the triune principle throughout the planes. It is the door through which the energies of the upper world communicate with those of the planes. It can be imaged as the dying and reborn sun, and hence related a wide range of God-man myths and legends. I am the door. By me if in and enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture.
John 10:3.
It dries out the land and kills the livestock, as well as bringing out the change of tides and then the flourishing of life. This reminds us that creation and destruction are the normal cycles of the universe, and we must grow through them, not being too attached to the material experience. Since the triune principles do not directly manifest in the lower worlds, the solar sphere becomes the intermediary, the manifestation and the gateway. In some sense, this is where the legend of the incarnation or avatar originated. The belief that God came into the lower worlds is an adaptation or analogy to the process whereby the pleroma manifests via the solar sphere into the auric planes. For the Gnostic Jesus, for example, was Michael, a created being who incarnated and became Christed. He was not God made flesh. There are many other entities who, being old soul, has achieved Christhood and become sons. In this sense, these entities become manifestations of the sun, and hence we can appreciate how the incarnation motif became accepted. However, the anthropomorphic tradition of God actually entering matter as God is a corruption of the solar mythos and a misunderstanding of the essential gnosis, gods and spirits. The great chain of being is brimming with life. There are spirits, gods, aeons, so many forms with so many names. It is simply best to say that as the emanations proceeded from the higher principles through the seven spirits, myriad forms of life are created in our Gnostic tradition. These are generally categorized as the seven spirits or logoili, the Ardenzel masters who work within each plane or ray of spirits. These spirits are of many forms, from the higher to the lower. There are many, many ways of categorizing them, from the Kabbalistic to the Ibla, from Neoplatonic hierarchies to those of Christian angelology. While we are often informed by it is to the individual student to explore and expand the spending through considering the many descriptions of these forms. The seven spirits, according to the Gnostic traditions, the triumph principle manifests through a series of seven logi, or in more traditional language, archangels or spirits. These forms can be expressed in many different ways. The most traditional is to know them as aeons, while in Egypt they would have been called sacred
the throne proceeded lightning and thundering and voices. There were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of a god. Revelation 4:5. The 7 spirits, according to the Zoroastrian tradition, or in Pesquapla bleeding the Sarable power, the kingdom of God, to hurt and wholeness, health, free, spenta, armady, holy, piety, devotion, spirit, net, and long life, immortality, life, full of manner, good purpose, good thought. 6 Ashavayash, the best, right, truth, order. 7 spent to mind you, the Holy One. Further to this, the 7 Logi form the body of the universe or great chain of being. It is from their forms that the 7 planes of existence come into being. This is one of the most important aspects of the Gnostic teachings. The 7 planes are not simply geographic locations. They are living, growing, transforming bodies which are enlivened by the 7 Logi. It is the same with the physical plane. It is not matter, but it's alive. It is not simply a ball of dirt in space, but is Gaia, I immense organism, which is as much alive as we are. Each plane sublines into lesser planes. Each plane dimension has its own consciousness and reality. In this,
So, for example, man is in a unique symbiotic relationship with Gaia, which in turn is part of a greater web of spiritual energy which makes up the Logi of the physical plane. All forces are in symbiotic relationship with those above them, that which is not. Divine will, the Logos Sophia, the 7 Rodin, the 7 planes, dimensions, or worlds, each a living web empowered by one of the 7 Logi heads. Man is part of the body of Gaia, and his behavior and actions affects Gaia as much as would our own semi-independent digestive function. This unique and new view of life is imperative for not only environmental and conservation reasons, but for our own survival as a species. This may seem at odds to the traditional pluralism of which Gnosticism, however, we will explain in some detail later what Gnostic dualism really is, and frankly, it isn't what most people know. The various realms that exist can be understood as planes, dimensions, realities, locales, or worlds. Depending on what perspective you may wish to take, the Gnostic tradition tends to use the Gnostic Theosophic model, which offers 7 planes. There are other models such as the 4 worlds of the Kabbalah and the more complex Valentinian scheme of some 30 aeons. We are not stating one is more correct than the other. We have simply chosen one model from within. Our tradition to expound together all models illustrate the multi-ness to nature and the reality. The earth be only one plane within a larger picture. There can be many views of such a structure, ranging to universes, dimensions of the range of our realities. Each has its place in our understanding. The 7 planes, Max Heindel model. Divine plane. Divine plane of weltering spirits, monadic plane of big light spirit, spiritual plane.
plane, astral plane, physical plane, physical plane, the divine plane. This is the point of origin, the matrix from which all universal systems evolve. It is the plane of the Troyal principle, and on a more tangible level, the dimension from which the upper world operates. The monadic plane. From this plane, the true self, or the pneumatic light self, operates in the present cyclos. Though in most of humanity's umberatic trillium in the cycles of creation, this is the plane which polarization and differentiation originated. It is on this level that the seven Holy Spirits operate in direct creation. The spiritual plane. This is the plane of archetypal forms, and is the location from which energies from the upper planes are condensed and radiated into the lower. This is the plane on which the immortals exist. The intuitional plane. This plane is also known as the intuitional plane. It is the dimension where the forces and archetypes take creative solidity and manifest on a human level. It is the dimension on high. Intuition and cosmic awareness. First thing to note is that the underworld is not hell. There is no heaven and hell in the Gnostic system. The underworld is the realm of the dead and where we experience the afterlife. Some people create their own heavens and heavens there, but that is another story. The models we are outlining cannot be reduced to scientific charts. While there are seven planes that intermingle in there, exist behind you in the physical names, annotate each other just as much. It is the plane, can be imaged under, inside, or above the earth. This symmetry is so vital how we can specialize the universe. The model of the astral plane above the earth, ruled by the moon, has a more hierarchy feel, while the underworld communicates.
The model of the underworld also brings to mind the ancient polarity of earth and sky.
The earth and sky polarity was probably the most ancient model of the universe, while the Logos and Sophia model is central to Gnosticism. This older structure is found in many nature religions. The divine will is seen as either the cosmic father or mother, and the earth is the wife, husband or lover. In this mythology, the underworld is intricately connected to the earth, even seen as part of it. In the Norse tradition, the god is Odin or Tyr, and he is the lord on the earth, and Hel is the goddess of the underworld. Hel and Freya are much the same goddess. She simply split into two and was demoted due to strong patriarchal and later Christian influences. She was the goddess of death and rebirth, fertility and suffering. She guards the dead and sends them back to life. She commemorates and completes the Lord or a Tyr. In Celtic mythology, she guards the great cauldron. And in the Norse, this cauldron is this seething cauldron from which the drizzle formed from fire and ice coalesces, from which life is formulated. We can see a crossover with Sophia. She too is the goddess of the departed and the earth. The system also embraces the Logos and Sophia model, but expresses it in a different way. The danger with overtly ancient glorious symbolism is that it genderizes the principles. And while this offers some beautiful literature and ideology, it can also transform the gods so that they appear in our own image, which degenerates the principles into warring, fighting, and marauding reflections of ourselves. And this is certainly true with the Viking tradition. So once again, we can marvel at the imagery, but should be aware of its limitations. The immortals. The immortals are those beings which work within the force of the seven planes or rays. The seven logoi emanate currents of force throughout the planes, and through each there is a spiritual hierarchy. In this work we will not discuss these in details, but you can read about them in our other text. While some traditions have brought the master tradition into disrepute with their ever-channeling ascended yahoos entering, this should not be allowed to discredit the real and important role of those who work within the great reality. The defectity of evil. The major problem with understanding evil is found many forms of evil, and these are mixed together. It is especially difficult when cosmological evil is mixed with issues of ethics. And fortune is seconding why the iconography of evil certainly appears in all cultures. One of the most potent icons is that of Satan. It is a difficult image because most people do not appreciate the various motifs which have been woven together to make the one figure. It is quite clear from Old and New Testament sources that Satan meant something very different. These differences have been overlooked with the contending Christianity from its desire to frame the sinner into salvation. For the esotericist, it is imperative to decode these perennial motifs, or they solve once and for all the mystery of evil. The image of Satan has three primary motifs within it. These can be found in the Old Testament, apocryphal sources, and within the New Testament. These are mirrored in other esoteric traditions. For example, the Old Testament view of Satan
image of Satan as bad mind is primary New Testament. These three motifs are founded in all aspects of Gnostic, ensnayen Christian literature. For example, the demiurge is Saturn is not evil, but only the harsh school teacher. Yet within the Watchers, the demiurge is desire. All fallen spirits are demiurge. All have desire to leave their station and enter Earth, while the demiurge in man is the ego. These three different motifs explain the strange amalgam of tales we have throughout the Bible about evil which range from the fall of Lucifer. Jesus called under Satan. And the book of Job, image of Satan as tester.
The secret of Saturn. The darkest aspect of the Gnostic tradition is that of dualism. So many people who read about Gnosis accept at face value that the demiurge is evil and that matter itself is, if not evil, then a mixture of darkness and light. This antimatter, antibody position tends to be found in extreme Christian Gnostic sects and has continued today through Christian Puritanism and some New Age Gnostic derivatives. Heaven's Gate UFO cult is a prime example to understand the nature of the demiurge and hence the true Gnostic position on the world and matter. We need to provide a background on some of the myths involved. There are many traditions and explanations of how this occurred, ranging from the fall of Sophia to the Genesis tale. For the Valentinians, the primal era occurred after a long process of hierarchical expansion. The originator expanded into manifestation, and hierarchies on hierarchies took form. Each hierarchy manifested a further hierarchy until finally the last emanation, Sophia, was created. Sophia, being the last creation, did not understand the nature of what had occurred. In her anguish, she cried out for the divine will. In this state of suffering, she emanated Aldaboth. Aldaboth, in his ignorance, believed he was the creator and formed matter. By his error, Sophia herself became trapped in his creation, as did thousands of beings of light that came to believe his error. This tradition is intriguing as it paints the demiurge in an ignorant rather than malefic role. In some sense, it embodies the ambivalence found in much Hermetic literature, where the false creator is seen more as a blundering demigod than as an adversary. For the Kabbalists, the fall occurred on a far more ethereal level, when the cosmic light of Ein Sof began to expand it, produced emanations known as Sephiroth, or light centers. As these Sephiroth, or light vessels, began to create a hierarchy of being, a reflection was cast onto the ocean of cosmic spirit. And this reflection, being distorted, gave birth to destructive and twisted forces. Qliphoth, which in turn created the material world. Even among the Gnostics, there are many Dolish some interpretations of the fall. Some traditions see the creator as the divine will or Sophia. Others see the creator as the demiurge and hence evil. Some have two Yahwehs, a true light lord and a false substitute. Some sects refute the whole Old Testament, saying it is the work of the false Yahweh, while others even see the serpent in Genesis as a premonition of the Savior. The whole golden twist, rhyme the science fiction writer. Outlined the Gnostic myth in a more topological form millions of years ago in the spiritual dimensions. A spirit entity decided he wanted more power than was his due. He created a sequence of mind traps or games. These games or traps enthralled the other spirit beings, and as they became involved in them, they found themselves creating material reality. The final game involved forgetting who they were and entering into matter. Hence, they entrapped themselves. Modern adaptations of the Alpha event and not unusual. For example, there is much discussion about the possibility that extraterrestrial entities genetically engineered mankind. These theories were made popular by such writers as Zakaria Sitchin and on a more vulgar level by Eric von Daniken. Whether we wish to use a highly spiritual and entabulio description, such as that by the Kabbalists, or see the supposed fall of man in more material terms, it is of little importance. Something occurred and the algebra we use to represent it is somewhat irrelevant. Had an answer which was at least logical and consistent. Evil and pain are inherent in this world because the world is the creation of the evil one. The Byzantine Commonwealth Obolensky.
What are we to make of such speculations? Is the world really evil? Or worse, is the creator of the world evil? The first thing we need to do is to consider how this model arose and then examine the esotericism that exists behind it. The first thing we need to consider is how the different models of the creation of matter developed. Some traditions, such as the Hindu and Greek, tend not to demonize matter. While such schools admit there are degrees of darkness and light and forces which are helpful to man and those who may wish to hinder, none are actually seen as absolutely evil.
Certainly in the pagan traditions, the gods have many aspects. And the appearance of totally evil gods seems to have been the result of Christian influence. Indeed, even the post-primitive of cultures, while placating so-called destructive spirits, see these as protecting the land or a sacred site, etc., there is little evidence of so-called ontological evil. While some schools are dualistic and see a conflict between matter and spirit, this is more a conflict between man's attachment to matter and spirit. Hence, the emphasis is moved from cosmology to perception. If we examine the multitude of myths regarding the creation of manna with this in mind, we begin to see an answer to our dilemma. These models are talking about different things. Some are talking about cosmology, others about personal evil. The question is more the nature of ignorance and evil from the perception of man. While the Gnostic and Kabbalistic seem to be discussing how suffering arose and tracing this back to a cosmological structure. Perceptional lie! This begins to hint that the problem is not with the universe, but us. It is our perception of the universe, which is the issue. Evil, so to speak, is in the eye of the beholder, and hence extremely dualistic. Gnosticism is a product of those who suffer, and this seems quite clearly so. To suggest the world or the creator is evil is really a personal perception. Since gnosis means personal wisdom, then we can see that the Gnostics were recording their personal insights alone, not offering eternal truth. Each insight may vary, not only according to the environment and experience of the author, but to the stage of his or her life and the suffering he or she has or has not experienced. Dualism, therefore, is a matter of perception, not one of cosmology. Like the Institute, we call it perceptional dualism. Like children in school, we may sometimes hate our teachers and other times love them. Long after schooling has ended, later in life we may look back and suddenly realize how much it helped us. But during the period of harsh discipline, we may despise the process and the teachers involved.
On a cosmological level, evil cannot exist. If the great chain of being unfolded from a single principle, then everything must have its place and a role. And to suggest a separate ontologically evil force destroys this balance. So how does evil exist? This paradox is symbolized in the Gnostic astrological traditions. As the planet Saturn, Saturn is both Sophia, wisdom, and Satan, the tester. In the Old Testament, Satan was not a rival to God, but worked within God's court to test and trial the faithful. Saturn is hence a dual image, and it is to Saturn that the title demiurge is usually applied. Saturn is also Sophia, and through Isle the both matter is created. And yet we may ask, why was it a sin for Sophia to want to know or understand the divine will? It seems clear that this supposed error was actually the process by which Sophia, and with her mankind, could enter matter and achieve an understanding of the divine will. This model is duplicated in Genesis, where the serpent tempts Eve, and Eve is seen to fall, yet in reality Eve begins a necessary journey into the material world, symbolized by putting on coats of skin and being dispelled from the garden. The entry into matter was hence painful but necessary. So while Saturn is Sophia may have caused the material world and its suffering and pain, it is through realizing that this world is only a classroom that we see through the door behind it and find wisdom behind it. In the ancient mysteries, this was represented in strange initiatic rites. In these secret rituals, the neophyte would be led to a goat, donkey, or sometimes a strange statue. These animals were made to look disgusting and obscene as possible. The neophyte would then be asked to kiss the backside of the creature if they refused to have failed the initiation. If they went ahead and puckered up, they found they were kissing the lips of the priestess. Here clearly is the movement for one mode of Saturn to another. From the demiurge to Sophia, the Knights Templar did something similar, where a large devil, like Baphomet figure, actually possessed Sophia, the goddess of wisdom. Indeed, the word Baphomet, when decoded with the Apache geometric code, gives the name Sophia. If we accept that dualism is perceptional, therefore pain, suffering and the trials of life are relative of pain, and suffering may seem nearly intolerable from a perspective of those locked within it and for those experiencing the harder end of life. However, if we accept that as individuals we have many lives and that incarnation is for the purpose of development, then we may, after some consideration, comprehend the reality that pain and suffering is part of a learning process. However, since our minds are limited to material experience, we do not perceive the full picture and hence treat our material reality as the final arbiter of experience. Pain and suffering are real, but only relatively so. Things will seem different if looked at from the wider perspective of multiple lives and worlds. While we may have disposed of cosmological evil, the question still arises as to how does evil appear in the world? While we may accept that pain and suffering, disease, death, etc. are not evil, except from our own perceptions. How do we explain murder, rape, war, and the more destructive of man's behavior? The last phase is probably the most fun and man's behavior. So much that we would like to blame on demiurge, God, spirits, anything else is actually laws of mankind himself. As Robert de Grimston discusses in his first essay, humanity is the devil. The cosmological devil or Satan is not evil, but simply a tester. It is mankind who has been born evil through its ignorance. Ignorance is the problem.
us an experience which leads us back to spirit. If we attempt to gain wisdom from matter, then we will become more and more frustrated. Like a rabid consumer, we seek more and more goods, and yet nothing satisfies the craving. Dualism then is between spirit and ignorance, the upper worlds and our attachment to matter, not between spirit and matter themselves, since ultimately they are part of each other.
The Watchers of Enoch. They thought of themselves that they were beings existing by themselves and without a source, since they do not see anything else existing before them. Therefore they live in disobedience and acts of rebellion, without having humbled themselves before the one because of whom they came into being. They wanted to command one another, out-rivaling one another in their vain ambition. They were brought to a lust for power over one another, according to the glory of the name of which each is a shadow, each one imagining that it is superior to the others. Nag Hammadi Tree, track 79, 1232. While we have shown, at least I hope so, that there is no cosmological evil, that does not mean evil cannot or does not exist, since every entity has free will, then ignorance can occur on multiple levels of existence. Hence, it is important to realize that some spirits can also work in a way that is not beneficial or even harmful to man. Just because a spirit is not just because his thought mean it is more developed or evolved. Astral denizens are much the same as us. Indeed, the human dead are part of the astral kingdom. Hence can share our own ignorance and stupidity. Feladas are joys and illuminations, while certainly Gnosticism does not accept the reality of evil. They are intrinsically evil. We do accept that, since man has free will and can make himself evil through ignorance, so astral spirits can do the same. These fallen spirits are described in many Gnostic texts and can certainly gang together and influence man in a destructive way. These spirits are not intrinsically or ontologically evil, but have become through ignorance, desire. So this is important as it proves the Islam evil God occurred the nation with the source of augury. No hierarchy of destruction, but ignorant spirits and entities. The legends of the Book of Enoch, which permeate so much biblical literature, suggest that since these spirits desired to have physical bodies, they entered the earth's stream and interbreed, with man producing giants and depraved offspring. This is why the great flood occurred, not to destroy man, but to purify the earth of these mutated forms. This desire, however, continued and brought about not only the corruption of many astral realms, but allowed these spirits to incarnate on earth. This last fact is important and has far more significance than we may realize. As we will discuss in another work, it is possible many of these fallen spirits have taken physical form and are now in controlling positions in governments and institutions. If we believe that spiritually destructive forces are working on many different levels, then we cannot ignore the existence of these forces on the physical plane as well as on the spiritual for centuries. There has been a belief in a secret government which manipulates and controls world politics. While conspiracy theories may seem at first glance unbelievable, when we consider the current state of world affairs, then after seeing that some sort of Napoleon's plan has been in operation in conspiracy or degeneracy by Rel Green, Oliver, we read the following. Theory that a conspiracy has been working consciously for many centuries is not very plausible unless one attributes to them a religious unity that is tantamount to regarding them as Satanists engaged in the worship and serve the spiritual evil. From a record of the scarce and lost of meal the least capacity to send thy bestation was confused and persistent. And since subtle conspirators must be very shrewd men, not likely to be deceived by autosuggestion, hypnosis, or drugs, we should have to conclude that they probably are in contact with a force of pure evil. This quote illustrates the real focus of the world conspiracy theory. It is not enough to posit the existence of a secret government behind the scenes. We need to ascertain the nature of the forces which govern the secret government. And clearly these forces are the powers we have described, and those who rule these secret bodies are the dominions and principalities we have discussed. There are more books than we can list that identify the secret government and its links with bodies such as the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, and the United Nations. However, only when we grasp the clear indication that these bodies are operated by alien entities without souls, controlled and manipulated by destructive ikers, do we really understand the full nature of the
I am not so interested in identifying and describing these individuals as I am in calling your attention that they do exist. John the Baptist, as he preached the coming of the Christ, foretold the end of this race of mechanical men when he said, O generation of vipers, who hath warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Again, referring to the barrenness of this counterfeit creation, he said, Every tree, therefore, which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. He prophesied the coming of one who would baptize with the sacred fire, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor and will gather the wheat into his garner, but the chaff he will burn with fire, unquenchable. Human automatons are the chaff, and their final end can come through only one process: transmutation. For this is the only approved method whereby the wicked shall be removed from the face of the earth. In the Bible, these soulless beings are referred to throughout as the wicked, for they have seen to it that all more specific descriptions of their race have been removed. Discover them and rise in righteous indignation against their overlords, and thus the death of John the Baptist and that of Jesus the Christ were brought about by the counterfeit race, who for thousands of years have set brother against brother, race against race, and have caused the children of God to blame one another for the murder of the saints. Today, as always, they occupy positions of authority and financial power. They have gained control of the destiny of empires, and they seek ever to thwart the purposes of God. The injudicious use of taxation exerted by their direction has placed an unconscionable yoke upon the neck of humanity. Their control, entertainment, in the trends of youth, towards dissonant hearts, forms, and discordant music has perverted noble attributes and spawned a race of delinquent rebels whose code or lack of it has gnawed at the vital future of America and the people of many nations' modern means of communication and distribution of the printed word. The spoken word and the demonic word, through her to tell an emotion, pictures have caused ideas to span continents and the world almost with the speed of light. Like a prairie fire, the dry grass consumes itself to the roof of hopes of humanity which are blighted. Then, by the searing infinity, the fire lit an emotion. The soulless ones, cloning of a counterfeit creation war. Loud Prophet, Summit University Press, LA 1981. The doctrine of dominion
destroy them.
Thoughts, however, go much further. As documented in much modern research on memes, thought forms can become like viruses of the mind. They can spread throughout groups, families, nations, and indeed the world, and are passed through the deeper levels of the unconscious. We all experience rumors, tales, ebb and myths are all memes or thought forms. While they may be primarily passed via the printed word, internet, media, etc., there is a time when they reach a certain saturation point and then become part of the collective unconscious. This is exceptionally dangerous as negative and violent forms can control groups and crowds, eating more fires and aggression. These groups' minds are really thought forms out of control. If we return to the image of Satan for a moment, we may remember that the image of Satan in the Old Testament is primarily that of the tester, the devil's advocate, rather than one of an evil being in the New Testament. However, things are different. The term Satan is used to describe people.
Is not the tester of the Old Testament, but his bad mind. That is, Satan is negative thought forms.
These forms exist in an individual. Or collectively. The idea of ownership and control which tempted Jesus as he looked over the cities. All this can be yours. It is legion, as there are multitudes of archons both dwelling within our minds and within the collective unconscious. The question of the devil being the father of the Jews takes us into the darker reaches of archon theory, because not only can they exist in the unconscious collective mind, but they can create a breach into the astral worlds through which fallen spiritual entities can then move into the earthly spheres and control the thought forms created. These forms, as known in the Gnostic exhibition as archons, they are the products of mankind and living by fallen spirits and fed by our own emotions. They can control and influence individuals, collectives, even nations, and governments. Jesus, it crowd the Jews not because of racial prejudice, but because the Judaic community of that period had become fundamentalist and literalist. They had lost the esoteric core of their tradition. In becoming so extreme, they had created a destructive thought form which they were feeding. In Gnostic literature, these archons can so increase in power that they become dominion.
Body would be cords within the web of exoteric.
Religion. Created from man's suffering and ignorance. Many of these forms feed on suffering, while others feed on pleasure. They amplify emotions of their members to gain more and more sustenance. In some sense, they are truly spiritual vampires, and without esotericism, all religions and traditions succumb.